Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the den of DBZALLSTAR. I'm DBZALLSTAR, or Steve if you prefer, and I have something very exciting to share with you in today's video. As you may have noticed, or have watched my recent videos, I completed a video talking about the first Floating Islands production book to be released, which you can see in front of me is the Laura Sue Chronicles Beginnings book, written, drawn by Penders, collecting material from the Mobius 20 Years Later stories, originally printed within the Archie Comics published Sonic the Hedgehog series. I will be doing a featured video that details a little bit more about the book in question and talk about not only the originally published material, but the new material that Mr. Penders has put together in celebration of what came before and building toward the future of this series, as by Christmas 2026 we are to expect a volume 2 of the Laura Sue Chronicles, meaning for those of you who enjoyed this future story, you can get more. And for those of you who want to read past Sonic the Hedgehog stories, you can collect this book. You can cogitate, before I open it, what's in this box, also from Floating Island Productions. Or you can also pre-order right now the Scott Shaw's Sonic Days hardcover edition, available in a standard edition cover or a limited variant cover, collecting the earliest works for the Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog comic book series, featuring Scott Shaw's wonderful work, which happened to be my entry point into the world of not just Sonic the Hedgehog comics, but comic books in general, as the first comic I ever purchased was Sonic the Hedgehog issue 0 from 1992, published by Archie Comics. With all that being said, I am going to open up this wonderful box that I have been ecstatic to receive and open, as it has great nostalgic value to me. It has a lot of childhood value to me, and it has a lot of present day value to me. I can't express enough how grateful I am to have this, and I'm grateful to Mr. Penders for putting together such wonderful material and producing these books for those of us who are fans not only of Sonic the Hedgehog, but of the stellar work he put into the comics and the overall mythology for not just Sonic, but for Knuckles and many other characters within the Sonic franchise. That being said, let's set this off to the side so we don't disturb that. And again, I will detail that a little bit further without going into in-depth spoilers in a future video. So we are being very gentle here with our handy dandy box cutter. Safety first, ladies and gentlemen. It'd be easiest probably to get this open, yes, from the side. So wonderful packaging protection here. We have a foam sheet and a second foam sheet. This one more than likely a foam block. So more packaging protection, some bubble wrap. Oh my goodness. Some truly wonderful bubble sheet, followed by another styrofoam block. So thank you so much, Mr. Penders, not only for producing this, but for communicating with me and sending this to me. Mr. Penders and I have talked off and on now X, but I refuse to call it that consistently, Twitter, for quite some time, with my first conversation being about the possibility of bringing back the old mythos, which of course depends on a lot of factors, including cooperation between Sega, Mr. Penders, Ian Flynn, IDW, the current license holders, but that's a whole nother story. What we're here to talk about is what is in that box, or rather, what was in that box. And we have the first Knuckles Omnibus, titled the Ken Penders Knuckles Omnibus. And I cannot express enough how thankful I am to Mr. Penders for sending this to me. It was well worth it. There are still copies available of the standard edition cover on Ken Penders' website, home of Floating Island Productions, and I will be leaving a link to that in the description below this video. This retails for $100. The standard edition cover is not what you see before you. This is the limited variant cover, which is at this point sold out. I'm not trying to create FOMO, also known as fear of missing out, but this is the cover I went with because this is very reminiscent and is a tribute to a cover utilized for an issue of the ongoing Knuckles, the Echidna series. And I love Sonic the Hedgehog, I also love Knuckles. The Echidna is my all-time favorite animal because it is so fascinating in the wild. And Knuckles is not really like the real-world echidnas. However, since his worldwide debut in the Sega Genesis game Sonic the Hedgehog 3, shortened to Sonic 3, for those who see it as a beloved entry in the franchise, including Michael Jackson's work on the score for that game, Knuckles took the world by storm. And with his debut in the Archie Comics comic book series, while there was no putting a stop to his popularity, eventually he was able to spin off into a 3-issue miniseries that sold so well that there was a second 3-issue miniseries that was selling so well that it evolved into an ongoing series written, drawn by Ken Penders. And this omnibus collects much of the early material. There's already a second Knuckles omnibus by Ken Penders planned, so if you're looking to get some of Knuckles' early adventures not just reprinted, but fully remastered, because there was an update of the coloring. I know that's controversial. Some people prefer the original colors, but it is astounding. Mr. Penders has shared previews of it on his social media pages, from Twitter to Bluesky. And if you want to enjoy a modern day take on the original Knuckles, the Echidna stories from the Archie Comics series, this is the best and most legal route to go, other than collecting the Knuckles archive editions, the smaller digest size collections that are out of print. Some of those may be available on Mr. Penders' website, or tracking down the single issues. However, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this omnibus, which collects Sonic the Hedgehog issue 13, which featured Knuckles the Echidna's first appearance in the Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog series, the Sonic and Knuckles special issue 1, Sonic Triple Trouble special issue 1, which also features the debut of other characters that appear throughout the Sonic mythos, including Knack the Weasel, the Knuckles Chaotix special, Sonic the Hedgehog issues 30 through 36, which contained Knuckles' stories that set off future stories for him, Sonic, the Super Sonic versus Hyper Knuckles special number 1, remember that one extremely fondly, Sonic's friendly nemesis Knuckles 1 through 3, which is the original miniseries, Sonic the Hedgehog issue 44, Knuckles the Dark Legion issues 1 through 3, which would become Knuckles the Echidna 1 through 3 for the ongoing series, Knuckles the Echidna issues 4 through 6, and Sonic the Hedgehog issue 53. All gloriously reprinted and remastered thanks to Ken Penders and his team over at Floating Island Productions in this hardcover Volume 1 book. So we're going to gently, to the best of my ability, open this wonderful Omnibus edition, and we are going to check out what is inside. So you can get a better look and see, yeah, there we go, exactly what makes this book well worthwhile. So we have an opening here. We are not going to damage this wonderful book. There we go. Came to me wrapped in sturdy plastic wrap. So thank you for that as well, Mr. Penders. And I'm going to have to find a magazine-sized bag and board combo to commemorate and celebrate this book properly, as it deserves a lot of respect. And as you can see, this book has some raised lettering, embossment here. Nothing for Mr. Penders, though I think it's well deserved. We have on the side the Mobian Adventure Series, Ken Penders Knuckles Omnibus Volume 1. Also giving credit to other creators involved here, and I am not going to try to mispronounce their names, so I'll do the best I can with the two I can. Galen and Manic are also credited, and on the back it says, "It was good to settle back and watch the Sonic Comics A-Team in action. Ken and Mike have delivered a strong story. The action was plentiful, and once you got the hang of the split screen layout, easy enough to follow. More important, the character of Knuckles had a chance to expand, and it made the most of it." Credited review to Dan Drazen of the Not Whole News Reviews. The Knuckles comic were weird, and I loved them. War, politics, and family trees. It didn't get stranger than this. Knuckles 87, sonicstadium.org. By Floating Island Productions, retail price $100. Now, before I get further into this book, and I've recently learned how to do a little bit of overhead viewing. I'm still working on editing, but for Mr. Penders and for Knuckles, it's well worth the try. You may be wondering why this book is $100 when companies like Marvel and DC offer oversized hardcovers and more material for the same price. Well, the difference between the larger publishers and an independent publisher may not be so obvious, but whereas Disney backs Marvel and Warner backs DC, independent creators through Image Comics, through Floating Island Productions, the cost at the beginning is all on the creator and continues to be on the creator. So these wonderful collected editions need support of their readers, and all of the money, instead of going back into the larger companies, goes directly to the creators to pay the royalties to them and to pay them for their ongoing and stellar work. So I have absolutely no complaints about the price, and in my opinion, any fan of the Knuckles the Echidna comics that wants to see them come from the creator of these wonderful stories and his team, it's well worth that cost. So I'm going to take a few moments, show off a little bit of the artwork inside for all of you, and continue to talk about, as I go through, what this series means to me and why. Alright, so overhead view now. We have Ken Penders Knuckles Omnibus Volume 1. Again, this is the variant cover edition. We have our flaps. What's a nice echidna like me doing in a hidden temple? A brief overview of the stories included. And then we have the end sheets featuring comic covers as well as Knuckles getting ready to duke it out with you. We have a dedication for my father Kenneth, who was lock to my Knuckles, and who I miss dearly. I only wish I could have shared this with you. Well, Mr. Penders, I think he is looking down somewhere and is proud of all the efforts you have put forth and for being the person you are. We have the title page, Ken Penders, Knuckles Omnibus 1, with art by, and I fondly remember Pat as well, is heavily involved in comics for Archie. Creators, all stories written by Ken Penders, stories co-written by Mike, indicated with an asterisk, so that's great. Original Omnibus edition credits, front cover by, of course, Ken Penders. We have our table of contents here with a wonderful foreword and introduction, and it gives you the order of the book itself. There is, as you can see, quite a bit to be collected there. Oh, I cannot wait to reread the introduction of this character. Alright. So, again, I'm not going to spoil everything, but I did want to show off some of the interiors. So, without spoiling anything, we're going to go random here and showcase several of our wonderful Archie Comics characters. We have Dr. Robotnik, we have Knuckles, we have Miles, Prower, Tails, Sonic, and we have an Archie Comics exclusive character, Princess Sally, who also received her own miniseries early on in the production. I believe her miniseries was published in the issue 20s of that series. We have someone spying on Knuckles, watching his every move. Why? Well, read to find out. You have Knuckles encountering a creature in the desert. And man, these remastered colors just, they really pop. I read these comics such a long time ago, and so vigorously and repetitively. I believe I have my Sonic the Hedgehog and Knuckles comics in a long box. Not the whole collection, but a large portion of them in a long box here with me where I am living, and I will have to do a future video at some point showcasing them. And there's Knuckles with his now famous hat. Let's showcase the other end sheets. Oh, excellent. We have special thanks here. I love it. And we have asterisks. So, asterisk 1, pre-ordered this book and the Lara Sue Chronicles Beginning. Pre-order this book and the Lara Sue Chronicles Beginnings and purchase the limited edition print and t-shirt. Love it. An acknowledgement. And the end sheets here, as well as a short biography of the man himself, Ken Penders, who again made all of this possible, and were it not for him, I truly believe the Sonic comic would not have been successful for as long as it was. So, let me showcase the binding here as well. As you can see, we've got some wonderful sewn-in binding. We'll set this back down, and we'll show whether or not there is any gutter loss, and there is not, because each page is framed, basically, and I love that. It's not a very thick book, so you wouldn't expect it to have a whole lot of gutter loss compared to a Marvel or DC omnibus, but it's still nice to be able to see that. And with that, let me get back to my position at the head of the table. So there you have it, just a brief look at the Ken Penders Knuckles Omnibus Volume 1 by Floating Island Productions. If you want a deeper dive, please feel free to leave a comment below this video. You can hit me up on social media. As I said, I'm on Twitter. I believe I'm on Bluesky. Should be the same handle, #1 Animaniac. I'm on Facebook as your affirmation administrator in the Omnibuds Cafè group. I'm, of course, on YouTube, as you're watching this, probably on YouTube, DBZALLSTAR, and also on the TikTok for the kids. Just kidding, but I'm just getting into TikTok as well. I know I praise this book a lot, but it deserves it, because this book and the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, they helped shape my childhood. Just like Mr. Penders is a parent and had a strong love for his children, who were actually featured in the Sonic Live specials, also published in the 90s. You feel the love in every page and every panel of this. And it meant a lot to me to be able to gain an understanding as I was growing as to how these stories were constructed and why certain elements made their way in. My parents are still with me. I love them dearly. They did a lot of work, so comic books were my way to escape and to form a connection with these characters. And now they stand as a way for me to connect with other people and share my love not only of characters in comics, but of life, to pay it forward and pass it on, so to speak. Every time I would walk into a Walden Books to purchase an issue of Sonic the Hedgehog or Knuckles the Echidna before I discovered comic book stores that would also carry the Archie published comics. And long before the summer of 1995, before I purchased my first Spider-Man comic, my first Marvel comic, Sonic the Hedgehog was the end-all be-all comic book series to me. Heck, so grateful was I, and I still am, to have had these stories. I can tell you where every single issue from issue 0 to, I believe, issue 200 was purchased, how much I paid for it, and yeah, that's how much I love these stories. And I have to thank Mr. Penders and Mike and Pat and Scott Shaw for all the diligence, all the love and effort they put into these comics. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I understand that to a certain extent, when people think about certain creators, when they think about the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comics, they can think about what was lost and they point fingers. But at the end of the day, one thing to remember, not to delve into it, you can watch another video to delve further into it, is that Archie fired the first shot. And by doing what he did, Mr. Penders was able to gain the rights to his characters and be able to produce books such as Larasu Chronicles and these wonderful reprinted comics in the Knuckles Omnibus, and the future Scott Shaw's Sonic Days hardcover. I'm incredibly grateful because through his valiant efforts, these creators are finally being compensated properly and fairly for the work they're doing. I can recall when I was at Baltimore Comic-Con years ago, there was a panel where Robert Kirkman, creator of Invincible and The Walking Dead, had a debate, a discussion with Brian Michael Bendis, known for Powers, for Ultimate Spider-Man, and then writing New Avengers, and I believe that was in the lead up to Secret Invasion and then Dark Reign and Siege. They discussed the advantages and disadvantages of the corporate-owned comics and the creator-owned comics. And one thing that Kirkman made perfectly clear is that in the creator-owned world, the benefits and the negatives are all on your shoulders. You may have control, but you're also at the mercy of not having backing. So I believe it deserves applause, and it takes true courage to work on a creator-owned comic book. I believe instead of admonishing creators who are independent, we should be thanking them. And that goes for the corporate comic book creators as well. You look at someone like Mike Hawthorne, who is someone who started out in the independent world as well and worked his way into Marvel on Deadpool, on Daredevil, and had great artwork recently with Chip Zdarsky on Batman. And people have their own journeys. And it's thanks to these creators within these worlds that we're given so much joy. It's a true blessing to have these people out there willing to be vulnerable and share their talents, their courage with us. And I can't thank all of them enough. But for the sake of this video, with the focus on the Knuckles Omnibus, thank you again, Mr. Penders. Thank you to Floating Island Productions. Thank you to the team behind this book for everything you've done, for everything you are doing. Thank you for being a stellar person. If you ever want to have a discussion with Mr. Penders, he's on social media as well. You'll find that he's a wonderful and genuine human being who doesn't shy away from discussing the positives and negatives of his career, of the world of comics, of Archie. There was even an article published about the lawsuit that seems to be all people really want to talk about when it comes to Archie, Sonic Comics, and Mr. Penders. And it's all laid out there in black and white. So at the end of the day, when you reach out to people, understand that they are people and they deserve the same respect that you would expect as well. That's really all I'll say about it, unless you want me to do another video on it. I believe another YouTube user, whose video I'll link in the comments below, just as I did for this book here, said it better than I could, and Mr. Penders contributed a great deal to the information in that video as well. The next Floating Island Productions video you can look forward to, most likely, is going to be a more in-depth look at the Laura Sue Chronicles Beginnings book that I have in my right hand here. But until then, please stay healthy, stay safe. Thanks so much for watching. Put up your dukes, and be well.